How to protect your crypto from hacks in 2022 and 2023. Cryptocurrency has not been particularly Safu in 2022. In fact, October has been especially spooky with a whopping $718 million stolen across 11 different hacks. 2022 is on track to set a record, and unfortunately, not the one that you'd like to see. With crypto hacks becoming ever more present, we prepared a guide on how to protect your crypto from hacks in 2022 and 2023. So let's get started. What are the main security risks of crypto? Of course, we all know that crypto is volatile and sometimes a bit too volatile on the downside. But what are the main security risks? In other words, how could your crypto get stolen or hacked? Getting scammed. Scams are ubiquitous and popular in crypto. There are several scams like Telegram scams, giveaway scams, Uniswap scams, and more. There's also pump and dump schemes and shitcoins, although those don't strictly count as scams, but you can still lose your money. Keeping your crypto on centralized exchanges. Centralized exchanges are great and sometimes they make sense for longer term crypto storage, but you can also lose your crypto if they get hacked. Thus, most crypto security experts actually recommend that you keep all of your funds that you plan to hodl in self-custody. Losing your private keys or seed phrase. The old favorite. You can either be plain forgetful and not careful enough, or you can lose your seed phrase in a phishing attack. Even your phone could actually guess your seed phrase, so be extra careful with it. Malware. Malware as a security risk relates to losing your seed phrase, since the phrase could actually get stolen without you ever noticing it before it's too late. And if you store your seed phrase in the cloud or somewhere where it's especially exposed to attackers, you might regret it, and best practice is to actually use a hardware wallet. Fake apps or spoofing. Fake crypto apps are websites that pretend to be legitimate, real crypto applications, or a type of phishing attack that can get access to your private keys and drain your wallet of funds. It's always important to double check the URL that you are accessing and also make sure that it matches the real website. Protocol hacks. DeFi protocols are liable to hacks, particularly if they have not been around for a long time and have also not passed several audits. As we've seen in the past year, DeFi bridges are a favorite target for hacks. Sending crypto to the wrong address. A transaction sent in a rush, a wrongfully copied address, and your crypto ends up on a network that it was never supposed to go to. It's an annoying and entirely avoidable way of losing crypto, so we're actually going to cover how to not send it to the wrong address and if you can actually recover it, so stay tuned. How to keep your crypto safe. In this part, we cover several important aspects of how to keep your crypto safe, how to protect your private key and seed phrase. There are three main aspects to safe seed phrase storage: never sharing it with anyone, never storing it in the cloud or anywhere on the computer, backing it up, and storing it offline. First, you should not share your seed phrase with anyone. You may make an exception with trusted parties like family members or close friends, as long as you can actually be sure that you want these people to know your seed phrase just in case. But do not under any circumstances share it with strangers online or offline. Second, when you store your seed phrase, do so preferably offline. There are ways to engrave seed phrases if you don't want to use a old-fashioned pen and paper. You can also use a computer to store your seed phrase. However, it should be a separate computer from the one that you use for transactions, and it should also not be used for accessing the internet. How to store your crypto safely. Next, you want to make sure that your crypto is safe wherever you keep it. First, you should use different wallets for different purposes. For example, you may store some crypto on centralized exchanges, but that should actually not usually be the crypto that you intend to hold for the long term. The rule of thumb should be use a hardware wallet for long-term investments, use a software wallet for smaller investments and interactions with protocols, and use a centralized exchange if you trade, swap, or buy crypto. Second, you should be careful with the protocols that you interact with. You should periodically check which protocols have access to your wallet. Finally, be careful with the transactions that you sign. Remember that a fake transaction can drain your wallet, so only sign the transactions that you are certain to be legitimate. How to secure your devices and internet connection. Another important aspect of crypto safety is securing the devices that you use for access and an internet connection. Ideally, you have a dedicated device only for crypto transactions. You should not sign smart contract transactions from the same computer that you access certain websites with. Also, using two-factor authentication is mandatory. It's best practice to use a dedicated 2FA app like Google Authenticator instead of 2FA with SMS due to prevalence of SIM swapping attacks. Furthermore, your password should be at least 12 characters long. Finally, consider using a VPN to cover your traces. A malicious party will find it harder to track you if you do not want to use your real IP address. Why and how to DYOR. DYOR is short for do your own research and is a very important concept for crypto investments, but also an important guideline for staying safe in crypto. You should pay attention to two things. Always double check everything and careful with DMs on all social platforms. First, you should always double check and triple check the addresses and networks that you send crypto to. Also, double check the links that you actually click on, particularly when it comes to decentralized applications. You may also want to test transfers with small amounts first in case you are unsure you are interacting with a legit protocol. Second, DMs on Telegram, Twitter, or Discord are almost always spam or scams, so don't answer any of them and don't ever click on a link unless you know the sender. How to prevent crypto from being sent to the wrong address. It can happen to the best of us. You need to send some cryptocurrency, but you copy and paste the wrong address or click on the wrong network.
Roger that. Rolling right. 060.
What did you do?
Nothing, I stirred the tanks.
Houston, we have a problem.
Or even worse, you happen to be a victim of a phishing attack and your funds get siphoned off. Since crypto transactions are irreversible, you cannot generally get your crypto back. Here's a guide on how to recover your cryptocurrency in the limited ways that are possible. But in short, if the transaction was really completed to an address that you do not control, your coins are gone. Here is how to prevent sending crypto to the wrong address. Copy and paste the recipient address or use a QR code. Always double check. You can check the first few and final few characters of the address to make sure that it's correct. If you are receiving crypto, you may want to use a domain like ENS or Ethereum name service to make it easier for people to send you crypto, because it's much easier to send crypto to moonboy.eth than to a long 32-character address. Double check the network that you are sending to. If you are using a software wallet, make sure that you are using the correct network. If you are withdrawing from a centralized exchange, make sure to check that you are withdrawing to the right network. So who should actually keep crypto on exchanges? Of course, you want and need to use centralized exchanges, and most of the time they are perfectly safe, especially if we are talking about the biggest ones. So there are a few instances when keeping some money on centralized exchanges is considered an okay security practice. If you hold some of the platform tokens like BNB or FTT, you receive discounts on fees. If you are an active day trader, you need to keep your capital on a centralized exchange to trade. If you want to swap crypto or bridge it, centralized exchanges are often cheaper and safer than decentralized bridges. If you are using staking services, your crypto will be in the exchange's cold storage. If you are simply forgetful or not careful with your self-custody, do not trust yourself to keep your crypto safe. Also, if you're traveling and you don't want to think about your hardware wallet all the time. So you can never be perfectly safe with any online money, but you can reduce the risks and attack vectors. Keeping your crypto safe is actually pretty easy if you follow a few basic rules, and this guide should help you to protect your crypto even in a bear market.